Discover the incredible transformation of a lonely rancher who found heartwarming hope in a widowed veteran. The winds howled outside Jack's weathered ranch home, each gust echoing the loneliness that had seeped into his bones since Mary passed. He could still hear her laughter, the way it danced around the kitchen as they prepared for the harvest festival. But now, silence reigned as he stared at the empty chair across the table, memories rushing in like a tidal wave. At 52, Jack felt the weight of the world pressing hard on his shoulders, like the mountain standing sentinel outside his window. Days rolled on in a blur, his hands calloused and worn from working the land that's been in his family for generations. Each morning felt like dragging a boulder uphill, the sun rising only to remind him of what was lost. And Emma, his sweet daughter, was off chasing dreams in a city that felt worlds away. Conversations with her were becoming strained, her disdain for small-town life clear in her voice when she called. He could hear the weariness in her words, and it scraped at his heart. As autumn descended, the harvest festival loomed, a cherished community tradition that once brought people together. But this year, the excitement felt muted, overshadowed by the oppressive shadow of economic struggle that loomed over the town. The laughter that used to echo in the fields felt like a ghost of what it used to be. Jack felt the bitter sting of despair settle in. Would this be the last festival on the ranch? Would it all slip away like sand through his fingers? Just then, as he trudged toward the barn one day, a scruffy dog appeared, tail wagging, eyes shining with unearned hope. Jack knelt, feeling the warmth of the creature against his palm. "Well, aren't you a little wanderer?" he murmured, as if the dog could understand. It seemed like, for the first time in days, the heartache momentarily faded. He named the pup Scout, and from that day on, the dog became a constant companion, a tether to the world outside his grief. Then came Grace, another lonely soul drawn in by the gravitational pull of shared heartache. A widowed veteran, her spirit was a canvas of resilience painted with strokes of sorrow. They began to share meals beneath a canopy of stars, forging a bond like the one he lost with Mary. Jack found himself smiling, marveling at her laugh, and sometimes, just for a fleeting moment, he could almost remember how to feel alive again, but just as flickers of warmth filled his heart, doubt crept in. Grace urged him to reach out to Emma, to mend what had frayed between them. Jack wrestled with the notion, wasn't he just a relic now? A stubborn old rancher clinging to fading traditions. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the festival approached, storm clouds gathered, dark and menacing. Inside, Jack prepared, but the dread settled heavy in his chest. He had to decide, would he stand aside in the coming tempests of change, or would he open his heart and risk everything for the love he craved? The air buzzed with tension as he listened to the winds howl outside, every gust threatening to tear at the last shreds of hope he clung to. The festival would soon begin, but would it be a celebration of connection or a farewell to everything he held dear? Jack stood at the precipice of a choice that could unravel all he both feared and desired. The sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple as the day of the harvest festival dawned. Jack was up early, his fingers trembling slightly as he tightened the last of the ropes on the old rustic banners that fluttered like the spirits of forgotten times. Scout trotted at his heels, a faithful companion, brightening the somberness hanging around him. Every flap of the fabric reminded him of happier moments of Mary bustling about, pinning decorations with a beaming smile, but as he stood back to admire his work, the weight of his decision loomed. He glanced at the empty stretch of chair beside him, brushing aside the emotion that threatened to swell up again. Should he reach out to Emma today, with the festival bustling around him, or should he wait for another moment, another day when he felt stronger? As much as he cherished his past, Jack was learning to crave the warmth of connection anew. Grace would be there, he reminded himself. With her laughter and easy way of bantering with the townsfolk, a flicker of joy grew within him. He felt it again like a gentle push towards embracing the changes that had begun to unfold. By the time he saw the first familiar faces arriving, setting up stalls for pies, crafts, and games, his heart raced. Everyone was excited, chatty, and full of life, the vibrant energy contrasting sharply with the unease inside him. He could hear the sound of wood shuffling, laughter mixing with the crisp autumn air, as children darted by, their faces painted with anticipation. This wasn't just a festival, it was a lifeblood, a reminder of who they were. Suddenly, Grace materialized beside him. She caught him off guard, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Jack! I can't believe it's finally happening. Look at everyone." She gestured, and he noticed the way her smile lit up the fading day. The warmth of her presence wrapped around him like a soft quilt, easing the tension in his heart. "You did a great job here, she added, nudging him playfully. "Thanks, I just figured if it was going to be the last one, I might as well go all in," he replied, trying to hide the quaver in his voice. "Last one?" Grace's brow knitted together. "Don't say that. This ranch, this town needs you. You have to believe that." Her words struck a chord amid the chaotic dance of emotions Jack had been feeling. The doubt simmered within. Maybe the world was shifting, but was it truly the end or merely the beginning of a different chapter? As the festival unfolded, Jack saw community and compassion on full display, people helping each other, sharing laughs over homemade pies, and children playing games. It felt like a balm to his soul, but the thought of his daughter gnawed at him. He turned to Grace, who had woven herself into the festivities, embracing the warmth and laughter surrounding them. If Emma were here, Jack's voice trailed off. It was harder than he expected to admit how much he missed her. Would she even come back? Grace intertwining her thoughts with his made him realize he could not let this moment slip away. Why not text her? Just say hi and wish her a happy festival. It's a first step. Her encouragement seemed both terrifying and necessary, a bridge he could build on. Jack hesitated, glancing at the distance where Scout played with other dogs, unaware of the weight of adult worries. Could he really reach out? Could he risk another rejection? With a heavy heart, he pulled out his phone, fingers hovering over the screen. The festival buzzed around him, joy and uncertainty swirling together. But just as he was about to type, a sudden commotion erupted nearby. A loud crash followed by a gasp shattered the moment. Jack turned sharply, pulse quickening, as he caught sight of the town's makeshift market booth tipping dangerously. Panic started to surge. What if empires of hope could fall as quickly as they were built? Jack stood at the forefront of impending chaos. Would he rise to protect what he held dear, or falter once again? The unfolding drama around him mirrored his internal struggle, raising a storm of emotions. The moment of truth was here, tugging at his heart and mind. Could this be the moment everything changed? Jack dashed toward the tipping booth, the festival's joyful noise muffled by the pounding of his heart. He could see the table teetering on the edge, pies wobbling dangerously, ready to crash to the ground. The sight sent a rush of adrenaline through him. "Help! Someone catch it!" A voice cried out from the crowd. Without thinking, Jack lunged forward, arms outstretched like an eagle diving for prey. The booth tilted sideways, and he caught the heavy tabletop just before it fell, his muscles straining against the weight. The warm aroma of apples and cinnamon flooded his senses, a bittersweet reminder of the past. He could hear the gasps around him, feel the eyes of the townsfolk glued to the scene. "Jack! Grab that leg!" shouted Grace, her voice ringing clear through the chaos. With a firm grip on the top, he turned and pushed his shoulder against the booth's frame. Narrowing his focus, he strained to stabilize it. Grace, always quick, rushed to him, helping him hold it steady while others rushed in to secure it further. "Easy, now. Just breathe," she encouraged, determination lacing her tone. Jack felt the panic beginning to subside as he worked with Grace and the others. They managed to set the booth upright again, and Jack exhaled a shaky breath as relief washed over him. The crowd cheered, laughter and claps echoing around him. He felt a wave of warmth flooding his chest. It was like a jolt, that surge of energy coursing through him. Perhaps help and connection were just as crucial as strength. As he pulled away, wiping sweat from his brow, the townsfolk gathered closer, sharing his relief and excitement. Old Mrs. Thompson, known for her famous pumpkin pies, beamed up at him. "You did it, Jack. You saved us all." Jack smiled back, a rare spark reigniting in him. But just as the buzz settled, a shiver of doubt crept back. He glanced over to Grace, her eyes shining with admiration. It warmed him, yes, but it reminded him that his heart was still a battlefield. Could he allow this moment to spark something inside him, to kindle hopes he had long buried? "Thank you, Jack," Grace said, nudging him lightly. "You're really something special, you know." Her words echoed in a space that had felt empty for far too long. Right then, the laughter and cheers of the festival faded into the background, becoming just a distant hum against the pulse of possibility hammering in his ears. Yet, as the festival rolled on, the weight of his phone in his pocket felt heavier than ever. Would he dare bring Emma into this moment? The stirrings of hope flickered again. Reaching out might not just be an act of bravery, it could be the key to healing bonds that had frayed apart. At that moment, Scout bounded back, tongue lolling, as if sensing Jack's internal turmoil. He rubbed the dog's ears gently, finding comfort in the furry warmth. A voice broke through his thoughts. "Jack! Look over there." Grace pointed to the center of the festival. Curious, Jack turned, seeing a small crowd gathering. "What is going on?" "They're setting up for the pie-eating contest." Grace's excitement was contagious. Jack chuckled, the contrasting emotions swirling within him, but it also sparked a thought. What if he joined in? Not just as a bystander, but fully present, letting the moment wash over him. Could he summon the courage to participate, to ground himself in this sea of laughter? With a newfound determination pounding in his chest, he took a step forward, but something caught his eye, a familiar figure standing at the edge of the crowd. Jack's breath hitched as his heart raced. What if it was Emma, back to discover him at the center of life, of laughter, of everything he had almost lost? With the buzz of the festival echoing in his ears, he pushed past the crowd, hope blossoming yet again. Could this festival be the turning point he needed? "Jack!" Grace's voice followed him, tinged with a mixture of concern and insistence. He turned to answer her, but the sight ahead made him freeze, hope and fear intertwining. "Emma?" he whispered, feeling the weight of every unsaid word hanging between them like a fragile thread. Emma stood just a few feet away, her hair catching the afternoon sun in a golden halo. For a moment, she looked unsure, as if this crowded festival might swallow her whole. Jack could hardly breathe. The world around them faded into a blur, the laughter of the pie-eating contest, the chatter of townsfolk all evaporated in an instant. "Jack!" she breathed, her wide eyes reflecting a mix of surprise and something deeper. Hope or perhaps vulnerability? He couldn't tell. His heart raced like it had the moment he caught the booth, but this time it wasn't about saving something, it was about risking everything. "Emma," his voice cracked slightly, laden with emotions he had buried for far too long. She stepped closer, the noise of the festival thrumming softly behind them. "I didn't think I'd see you here." The warmth in her tone made him forget the smothering weight of uncertainty. "Neither did I," he admitted. I thought you'd moved on." "No, she trailed off, glancing at the lively scene unfolding behind Jack. "I actually came back for the festival. To reconnect." Her admission struck Jack like a thunderclap, smashing through the walls he had built around his heart. Reconnect? The word tasted sweet and frightening all at once. "Yeah," she continued, a hint of determination sparking in her gaze. "With you. With, well, everyone." He felt the blush rise in his cheeks. Did she mean it? Could she really want to mend the threads that had unraveled between them? "Jack! You coming?" Grace's voice cut through the air, urgent and inviting, as she gestured for Jack to join the contest. He glanced back, the fun and camaraderie pulling at him, the desire to participate pulling even harder. Go have fun. Emma urged, an easy smile lighting her face, but Jack sensed a tremor in her voice. Did she genuinely want him to leave her side? Or was she masking her own uncertainty? He looked between the thriving festival and the life-sized possibility standing in front of him. In his gut, the push and pull of longing tangled with fear. This was Emma, the girl whose laughter had once wrapped warmth around his soul. She had been part of a world he had lost touch with. Then something remarkable surged inside him. What if we both join? The words tumbled out before he could second-guess them. You could get a chance to have some pie, too. Are you serious? Emma's eyes sparkled, a glimmer of her old self surfacing. Why not? Jack grinned, the corners of his mouth twitching as laughter danced at the edges of his heart. With a determined nod, she stepped closer, and their shoulders brushed together. Jack could feel the electric charge of possibility, sparking with every heartbeat. Okay then, Emma laughed. Let us do it. As they made their way towards the contest, Jack felt lighter. The laughter, the competing cheers from the crowd, the smell of baked goods, it all wrapped around him like a cozy sweater. But as much as the excitement filled the air, a shadow lingered in Jack's heart. Would this be enough? His mind raced with thoughts of reconnecting, of pie-eating laughter fading into deeper conversations. Could this moment truly fill the void left in the wake of their past? Jack took a deep breath, ready to push through the nervousness. So what if we win? He joked, trying to keep things light. Emma giggled, nudging him playfully. Then we share the trophy. I can't believe I'm actually doing this. But hidden beneath the laughter were the unspoken words and fears. The festival felt as if it were shifting from a joyful reunion to a test of something more profound, an examination of their hearts. As they joined the crowd, Jack couldn't shake the nagging question, would this be a fresh start or just the beginning of a more complicated journey? Jack! Emma exclaimed as they found their spot at the table, her eyes bright with excitement. Are you ready for this? He chuckled, his heart pounding in anticipation. But somewhere deep down, an anxious whisper echoed what happens when the laughter fades. The crowd buzzed with anticipation as Jack and Emma took their places at the pie-eating contest table. Smiling faces surrounded them, the atmosphere charged with energy and laughter. Jack's stomach fluttered not from the thought of the pies, but rather from being this close to Emma again. She adjusted her hair and focused on the table, her eyes sparkling under the sun. Okay, here's the deal, she said with a smirk. I'm going to eat the most pie, and you're going to cheer for me. And if I win? Jack shot back, raising an eyebrow in playful challenge. Emma laughed, the sound catching in his ears like a melody long forgotten. If you win, I'll have to cheer for you. The announcer's voice boomed over the crowd, pulling them into the competition. Contestants, ready your forks. Jack's pulse quickened, and he sensed the anxiety creeping back. Could he really enjoy this moment when he still felt so much uncertainty about what it meant for them? They each grabbed a fork, and Jack felt the playful tension rise between them as they prepared to dive into the first pie. As the countdown began, 3, 2, 1 go. With a burst of delight, they plunged into their first pies. The crowd roared, egging them on. Jack could hardly keep a straight face as he saw Emma's determined expression, a smear of blueberry filling escaping the corners of her mouth. The laughter rolled through him. It didn't take long before they were completely focused, their competitive spirits igniting in an intoxicating blend of rivalry and camaraderie. Forks clashed, and mouthfuls of pie flung about each bite, drawing them deeper into the moment. The crowd cheered, urging them on, and with each laugh, a layer of Jack's fear peeled away. For the first time in a long while, he felt the warmth of connection return. They weren't just rivals in a pie-eating contest, they were rediscovering the joy they once shared, but as the contest progressed, Jack noticed a flicker of concern in Emma's eyes. She glanced around at the crowd, taking in more than the cheers and giggles. With each bite, He could see her uncertainty creeping back, the very fragility that had always loomed over their relationship. "Emma!" He called out between bites, wanting to anchor her back to their laughter. "Look at us. We're a mess. Isn't this the most fun?" "I know," but she started, her voice tinged with hesitation. "What if this is just a moment?" A knot tightened in Jack's chest. "What if we go back to being who we were before?" He couldn't ignore the heaviness that loomed over them. It was as if every cherry-stained smile was under threat of fading once more, a stark reminder of their past. "Jack," she said softly, pausing before shoveling another bite. "You know it doesn't have to be like that. Doesn't it?" The question hung in the air as he scraped his plate clean, the last morsel of pie slipping away. They locked eyes, a mixture of fear and hope swirling between them. The contest ended with applause, both of them crowned champions in their hearts. They stood, covered in pie and laughter, but behind the celebration, something essential still lingered unspoken. As they made their way back to the festival's heart, the joyous cheers faded, leaving a quiet intimacy in their wake. "Can we really move forward, Emma?" Jack asked, breaking the silence that had settled like a weight. Her smile faltered for just a moment. "When we discover how," just as she began to speak, a loud crash echoed from the main stage, and both their heads whipped around to see chaos unfolding. "What is happening?" Jack felt a jolt of fear. Instinct kicked in, and they rushed toward the source of the commotion, both knowing this was far from over. What awaited them could change everything or seal the fate they feared. Jack's heart raced as he held on to hope mingled with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. They ran through the thinning crowd, ducking under the stalls and weaving between families clutching cotton candy. Jack's mind raced, the laughter from the contest now seemed a world away. The loud crash had shaken more than just the wood of the main stage, it echoed through his heart. As they neared the stage, the sight that met their eyes made their feet freeze. A tractor tipped over, its bucket raised high, sweeping everything in a tangled mess. A booth selling lemonade toppled like a house of cards, and the vendor scrambled to salvage what he could. "We should help!" Emma shouted over the din. Her voice cut through Jack's rising panic. She wasted no time sprinting toward the chaos. Jack hesitated, weighing the situation against the whirlwind of emotions he felt just moments before. The warmth they had shared was now overshadowed by this unexpected turn of events. "Jack!" Emma's voice pierced his dread. "Come on!" With a surge of resolve, he joined her. They worked side by side, desperately trying to help those around them, picking up fallen crates and offering comfort. Jack could see the fear on people's faces, mirroring his own internal turmoil. It wasn't just about the mess, it felt like everything from their past was colliding around them. A group of kids gathered, some crying and others just staring wide-eyed at the wreckage. Emma knelt beside them, offering smiles, wiping tears with the back of her hand, and handing out pieces of leftover pie from the contest, transforming their fear into laughter again. Jack marveled at her ability to bring light into the darkest corners. "Look!" Emma exclaimed as she pointed to a little girl who had managed to catch a slice of pie before it hit the ground. Her sad frown melted into giggles as she smeared pie filling across her cheeks. Jack felt a small smile grow on his face despite the circumstances. Together, they made their way through the crowd, helping where they could, restoring a sense of order, and coaxing laughter from the wreckage around them. The tension still gnawed at him, though. The connection they forged in the pie-eating contest felt endangered, as if it hinged precariously on this very moment. The chaos faded slowly but left behind remnants of the very fear he had tried to escape moments earlier. They gathered back near the main stage after the initial shock wore off, panting and covered in bits of pie and something sticky. But there was a lightness in Emma's eyes, the sparkle returned, glistening with a blend of hope and adventure. "We did good," she said, wiping flour from her cheek with a giggle. "Yeah, we did," Jack replied, his chest swelling with pride. "Maybe this was what we needed, a shake-up to remind us," Emma mused, her gaze locking onto his. "Not everything has to be pretty to be meaningful. We can create something new. Her words whispered promises of understanding, of healing. But lingering in the air was the question they both needed to address: what does something new truly mean for them? Jack swallowed hard, uncertainty gripping him again. But will it last? Can we really move forward together? Just then, the announcer's voice broke the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, let us hear it for our heroes who helped clean up. The crowd cheered, pulling them back into the whirl of festivities. He felt the energy shift around them, awaiting the next event. He glanced at Emma. Whatever lay ahead, they had crossed a threshold today, but just as Jack began to believe they could work through their fears together, another loud crash echoed from the festival's far side. The sound was followed by panicked shouts, the crowd parting once again with unexpected urgency. Jack's heart thudded like a drum, and he turned to Emma. More chaos. The worry etched deeply in his brow. Emma gripped his hand tightly, her eyes wide but filled with determination. Let us find out. With that, they plunged back into the unknown, ready to face whatever came next. As they raced toward the source of the commotion, Jack could feel the warmth of Emma's hand intertwined with his steadying yet electric. The cacophony grew louder, an anxious wave that washed over him. Just ahead, a small group had gathered, their voices rising in alarm. Jack squinted through the crowd. The scene unfurling before him was chaotic, yet so familiar that a tent had collapsed, its heavy structure flapping like a wounded bird. People struggled against the fabric, attempting to rescue others who had been pinned beneath. Jack's heart sank. Was it ever going to stop? This festival was supposed to be a day of fun, a time to be carefree, not a battleground. Stay close, he murmured, feeling the weight of responsibility settle upon him again. He pushed forward, guided by Emma's unwavering presence next to him. Over there, she exclaimed, pointing to a few older men who had taken charge, shouting for help. We should lend a hand. Jack nodded, adrenaline coursing through him. They moved together toward the scene, ducking under the fluttering tent to reach the people trapped inside. Voices blended into a chaotic symphony of cries and shouts. What do we do? Jack asked, panic creeping into his voice as he noticed the fear etched on the faces around him. Just start lifting. Emma replied, her determination unyielding. They grabbed the edges of the tent and tried to pull it up, pulling with all their might. Slowly, they began to lift, but it was a struggle. Frail women clung to their children, and frail older folks lay vulnerable at the bottom of the pile. The weight of the situation pressed down on Jack more than the tent itself. Time felt suspended. Someone's underneath. A voice cried out. Emma let out a bold command, orchestrating the effort. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Together, they lifted the tent higher, revealing a young man who blinked in the sudden brightness. Relief washed over Jack as the crowd murmured. Get him out. Quick. Emma yelled, her voice as fierce as thunder. The young man's eyes met Jack's, his expression a mix of confusion and gratitude. With teamwork echoing through their actions, they heaved the tent aside, and the young man crawled to safety. The crowd erupted into cheers, but Jack found it hard to be swept up in the moment. He knew this relief wouldn't last unless they stayed vigilant, but just then, something caught his eye at the edge of the festival grounds. A group of kids had begun gathering again, eyes wide, not just at the spectacle but clutching tighter to their parents' hands, more frightened than ever. Emma. Jack's pulse quickened as he moved toward the kids. We need to help them. They rushed toward the little gathering, Jack feeling like he had jumped headfirst into a whirlpool of emotion and responsibility. Emma knelt beside the children, her voice soft. It's okay. We're here. Nothing can hurt you now. She was brilliant at this. Jack marveled at her soothing presence, her ability to transform chaos into calm. Heartfelt smiles began to emerge from some of the children, and Jack felt a tiny spark of hope ignite within him. But still, he couldn't shake the impending sense of doom lurking beyond this moment. As the atmosphere shifted, another loud bang reverberated through the air, sending a new wave of panic coursing through the crowd. The ground rumbled ominously this time, and Jack's stomach dropped. "What is that?" Emma exclaimed, her fingers instinctively tightening around Jack's mouth. "Stay close," he managed, bracing for impact. Then they spotted it, a low black cloud of smoke billowing up into the sky, swirling with malevolence. Jack's heart thundered. "What in the world?" he whispered, the weight of dread settling back in. Emma's eyes locked onto his. "Jack, we can't," but their words were lost as the crowd erupted into screams. They had to make a choice, to flee or to stay. Jack looked at Emma, feeling that familiar uncertainty grip him once more. "We have to find out what's happening." But did they have the strength to face whatever was looming? Jack's heart raced as the smoke unfurled like a serpent in the sky, ominous and alive. The flicker of panic in Emma's eyes matched his own. He could feel the crowd's tension, a thick fog of fear that pressed down on them. "Come on," he urged, his voice steadying her faltering spirit. "We need to see what it is." "Jack, wait." Emma grasped his arm, her grip reassuring yet firm. "We don't know what's over there." Rationality battled against the urge to protect. He turned to her, searching her face for an answer he didn't have. "We need to help everyone here. If there's something wrong, if there's someone looking for help, we might be their only chance." Nodding almost imperceptibly, she softened. "All right, but let us be careful." Together, they edged through the throng, hearts intertwined with curiosity and dread. The crowd had turned chaotic, people shoving to flee while others tried to remain grounded. Faces distorted by fear, excitement, or confusion passed them by like a blur. As they neared the source, the acrid scent of smoke burned Jack's nose, raw and biting. He pushed forward, eyes squinting against the thick, swirling tendrils. What had happened? A meltdown? An explosion? The questions ricocheted inside his mind. The haze began to clear just enough for him to see shapes. Fire. Flickering flames danced around the remnants of a food stall, the vibrant colors of a once bustling kitchen now reduced to ash. People in the distance scrambled for water, trying to control the blaze while mothers pulled their children back. The laughter and cheers of the festival felt like a distant memory, drowned in the new chaos. "Emma, look." Jack pointed toward a small child, lost and sobbing at the edge of the crowd, oblivious to the smoke and screams swirling around him. "We can't leave him." Without a second thought, Jack sprinted toward the child, desperately weaving between the people who were still paralyzed by fear. He knelt beside the boy, whose eyes were wide with terror. "Hey there," Jack said softly, his voice soothing. "Where's your mom or dad?" The boy shook his head, tears streaming down his cheeks. I can't find them." "Okay, no worries. Let us look together." Jack offered a reassuring grin, but the child's fear tightened around him like a vice. Nearby, Emma appeared, reaching out. "Come on, buddy. We'll help you find them. You're safe with us." Just as they started to guide the boy back toward the crowd, a loud crack resounded. A wooden beam from the stall cracked and fell, narrowly missing them. Jack's heart leapt. He caught Emma's worried glance. The urgency was palpable. "Stay close, all right?" Jack instructed the boy, who nodded, still trembling. As they made their way back toward the crowd, a strange but welcoming sight loomed ahead. The firefighters had arrived, their trucks bright red against the chaos. They moved with practiced efficiency, organizing the crowd and dousing the flames that licked hungrily at the remains. Jack felt a flicker of hope flash through him. He watched as one firefighter, a woman with determination etched on her brow, took charge. "Everyone, stay calm," she commanded. "We're here to help. Please, keep moving away from the fire." He and Emma guided the boy toward the safety of the firefighters, the tension easing from their muscles. But the child's helplessness triggered something deep within Jack, a growing feeling that they couldn't abandon the others still in distress. "Emma, we can't stop now," he breathed. "We need to help them. There's still people trapped." Her eyes flickered with understanding, and then resolve. "Then that's what we'll do. As they moved back into the fray, Jack realized the festival still had the potential to be a place of healing, no matter how dark the moment seemed. But as they drew closer to the chaos once more, a new sound cut through the cacophony. A loud, heart-stopping crash echoed behind them, and the crowd erupted into even greater chaos. "What now?" Jack exclaimed, his voice strained as dread twisted in his stomach again. There was no backing down now, but just what were they about to face? Jack's heart pounded louder than ever, the crowd's panic becoming a roaring tidal wave. He felt Emma tighten her grip on his arm, her eyes wide, scanning the chaos. "Jack, we should really think this through," she urged, but her voice trembled slightly. "It's too late for that," he replied, keeping his gaze fixed ahead. "We can't just stand by." The fear around them felt palatable, surging like a living thing, but Jack pushed against it. He could feel the tug of responsibility, the call to act even as he sensed the danger creeping closer. The crashing sound had come again, a splintering crash that set even more people frantically searching for a safe way out. "Help! Someone help!" A voice cried from the other side of the remnants of the stall, barely audible over the chaos. Before he could fully process it, Jack started running again, determination blurring the line of fear. He glanced back at Emma, who followed, her face painted with fear yet shimmering with resolve. "Stay close!" he shouted, over the rising noise as they darted through the throngs of frantic festival-goers. Jack's eyes darted around, searching for the source of the voice, praying they would have time. People were pushing past him, some still clutching food and drinks, while others were running without a backward glance. A child wailed somewhere nearby, and every note of fear echoed his own unease. "Over there." Emma pointed to a cluster of people on the ground. A piece of the stall had collapsed, trapping a man beneath the debris. Jack felt the adrenaline surge. They had to help, no matter the cost. That as they neared, the scene solidified into a grim reality. The man struggled, pinned beneath a hefty wooden beam, his face strained with pain and effort. Around him, a group of bystanders hesitated, eyes wide, unsure of what to do. "We can't just stand here," Jack shouted, urgency lacing his voice. He knelt beside the man, assessing the situation. "We need to lift it." "Are you crazy?" someone in the crowd quipped, stepping back as if the heat of the fire might leap toward them. "Listen. We can either do this or watch him get hurt," Jack urged, angling his body to get a better hold. Emma was right beside him, a look of fierce determination etched on her face. She reached for the beam. "On 3. Jack called out, his voice steady, pushing through his own rising panic. 1, 2, 3. They strained against the weight, muscles tensing and elongating, just as the beam budged a fraction, enough for the man to pull his legs free. "You got him?" Emma asked, her breath coming heavy. "I think so," Jack answered, adrenaline fueling his movements. "Help me lift him out." With the bystanders finally rallying to their aid, they managed to pull the man free, wide eyes staring up at them, disbelief etched on his face. "Thank you," he gasped, and the words hung in the air. Jack felt the weight of shared humanity pressing down more than the chaos around them. People began to cheer, a ripple of courageous hope surging through the crowd, a bright smattering of humanity amid the somber reality. They were stronger together, but just as the tension began to ease, another overwhelming crash echoed behind them, louder and more terrifying than before. Ashen smoke billowed up again, thicker and darker, closing in around them. "Jack!" Emma grasped his arm, nails digging into his skin as she pointed toward the source of the noise. "It came from that building." He turned, heart racing once more. Something was off, and deep inside, he felt that something terrible was about to happen. "Stay alert," he commanded, bracing himself for what lay ahead. Fear gripped him, but alongside it, an undeniable resolve burned bright. What other secrets would the festival reveal in the fiery chaos? The day was unraveling, and the stakes were higher than ever. The smoke hung heavy in the air, twisting like the fear in Jack's heart as the festival devolved into chaos. Emma's grip on him tightened, and they moved as one, propelled by the instinct to protect not just each other but the community bubbling in turmoil around them. The echo of whooping cheers faded behind them, leaving only the raw sound of panic. They pushed through the throng of voices, all calling for help, all looking for a glimmer of safety amidst the flames and debris. "Emma!" Jack shouted over the din, "We need to find where the worst of this is." Before they could even map a plan, a loud explosion rang out, reverberating through the ground, a horrific reminder that danger was real. Jack's breath caught in his throat. There! The old barn! An arm reached out, and he felt the urgency surge through him. "Jack, we can't just run into a burning building." Emma's voice quivered, but behind her concern lay a fierce defiance that mirrored his own rising resolve. "We have to," he urged, pulling her forward. There could be people trapped. There could be kids, elderly, everyone who had depended on this festival for joy and connection. Their community. Once they reached the barn, ash fogged the air. A small fire flickered at the entrance, and the heat was staggering. Jack took a deep breath, steeling himself against the grasping fingers of fear. "On three." And without needing to wait for her reply, he kicked the door open, kicking up a cloud of ash and smoke. The scene inside was a whirlwind of collapsed beams and splintered wood, shadows playing tricks on the eyes as the flames crackled. "Anyone in here?" Jack shouted, trying to pierce the thick smoke with his voice. They could hear muffled cries, but uncertainty gripped his heart. "Stay close." Emma called again, her resilience bolstering his spirit. They moved together deeper into the dark maw of the building, hands brushing against charred wood as they searched, guided by the wild rhythm of hope hammering in his chest. Jack's heart pounded louder than the crackling fire, and in a dark corner, a figure huddled tight against the wall. "Over here!" he bellowed, rushing toward the form, Emma at his side. He crouched low as he got closer. It was a woman, cradling a small child in her arms. The mother's face was streaked with soot, tears streaming down her cheeks, but she looked up when Jack reached her, eyes wide with relief and terror. "Please, please help." "Got you. We'll get you out." Jack hoisted the child, who clung to him like a lifeline, steadying his balance. Emma grabbed the mother's hand as they navigated back through the wreckage. "This way. Just follow us." Every ounce of courage surged through Jack as he felt the weight of many lives resting on their shoulders. They had to keep moving, had to push through fear. Together they ducked under fallen beams, the flames licking at their heels. "Jack! Watch out!" Emma shouted, pointing to a section of the barn collapsing. He spun, pulling the mother and child closer, enough to shield them. Just then, the roof creaked and fell in with a thunderous boom, blocking the entrance, but they were close, so close. Jack's chest tightened, they couldn't be trapped here. "Help!" Emma yelled, desperation lacing her voice. As the dust settled, they moved toward another exit, the gnawing fear nagging at them. Jack's heart pounded not only for himself but for the lives they were fighting to rescue. "On three!" he shouted again, and with a mighty heave, they pushed through the wood until it splintered away. Fresh air filled their lungs, the clarity of outside reality lacing into their senses, pulling them back from the edge. Jack stumbled out, eyes blinking against the harsh sunlight, heart racing as he registered the crowd gathered, people watching and waiting for news. Emma followed closely behind, shielding the woman and child. The mother fell to her knees, overwhelmed with relief as people rushed to help them. Jack glanced around, searching the growing throng for a familiar face, the fabric of his community bound together by shared strife. Jack! Emma! Grace! Wove through the crowd, worry etched on her face. "Are you all right?" "Yes." Jack replied, chest heaving, alive, aware, empowered. "We got them out." The crowd erupted into applause at their triumph, cheers mingling with the distant crackle of embers. Jack felt the surge of belonging swell in him. Hearts were lifting, connections were being reverberated in this time of fear. They were a community rising together, but within the applause was a realization. Jack could feel the shift beneath his feet. Something had changed. Together with Emma, they had carved out laughter amidst chaos, and there was something infinitely precious buried within the chaos, hope. His gaze met hers, and he could feel a connection crackling with purpose. "You all right?" he asked gently, brushing away the singed hair from her face. "I am, thanks to you," Emma smiled, and the weight of unsaid words filled the charged air between them. In that moment, the ordeal had forged a bond, one that echoed of shared history, struggle, and hope. "Let us face this together," she whispered, determination lighting her features, the flickering flame surrounding them barely touching the strength roiling inside. Jack nodded, feeling the warmth of that connection spark to life. Together. That day, amid the chaos, they found themselves again. They would be mending, rebuilding, a fresh tapestry woven from the ashes of despair, full of warmth and laughter once more. And as they looked toward the horizon, uncertain yet full of promise, they felt the sun break through the dark clouds. This was just the beginning. Everything felt possible again, like resilience wrapped in tender hands, healing hearts intertwined with their loving community. The festival would go on. So would Jack and Emma. If you found this story inspiring, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss the next exclusive adventures. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the love. Comment below with your feelings about the ending. How does it resonate with you? And please, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of backing these stories.